It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's not Henry Cavill. And that, my friends, is where our story begins. Let us walk back to the year 2022. The DC universe, fractured, flickering, fragile, had been thirsting for clarity. And then came a glimmer. A hope. A silhouette with a red cape and the unmistakable jawline of Henry Cavill soaring once again across our screens. It was brief, yes. But in the final frames of Black Adam, the crowd erupted, not for the anti-hero, but for the Man of Steel who had come back from the shadows. Cavill stood tall, shoulders broad, hair slicked, and his voice carried with it a quiet promise to the fans, to the universe, to the myth: I'm back as Superman. He posted it with pride. Millions watched. Millions celebrated. The world believed, if only for a fleeting moment, that the Snyder-era Superman had returned to reclaim his throne. But behind that moment, beyond the applause, behind the cape, something else was happening. James Gunn was at a crossroads. You see, even as Cavill's return rippled through the internet, Gunn and producer Peter Safran were walking into a different kind of meeting. A pivotal meeting. A handover of a universe. That very day, they signed the papers that would place DC's future in their hands. The power shifted, and so did the direction of everything that came next. Because for Gunn, this wasn't about nostalgia. This wasn't about what was or what might have been. This was about what must be. He saw something else, a new Superman. A younger one, a different tale, not one of redemption, but of origin. And in that vision, as hard as it was to admit, there was no place for Henry Cavill. And so the hard part began. Gunn, now holding the reins of an empire, had to do something no storyteller wants to do. He had to look a man in the eye and pull the curtain. He had to sit down with Cavill, who had just been welcomed back by millions, and tell him, you're not the future. You're the past. Gunn didn't send an email. He didn't issue a memo. He met him in person. Because some decisions, no matter how hard, deserve that respect. He told Cavill the truth. That the DC universe was changing. That the story was changing. That Superman, at least this Superman, was being recast. The news was painful. For Cavill. For Gunn. For the fans. For anyone who believed in the myth that heroes always return. Gunn later called the moment terrible. Because how could it not be? Henry Cavill wasn't just an actor who played Superman. He was Superman to a generation. From Man of Steel, in 2013 to Batman vs. Superman, to Justice League, he wore the cape not just in front of cameras but in the hearts of millions. He believed in the character. And the fans believed in him. And yet, the future was pulling away. In came David Corenswet, a new face for a new era. A fresh hope. A bold risk. Gunn's vision was different, not better, not worse, but undeniably his. He wanted to write a younger Superman, not defined by trauma but by ideals. Not brooding in shadows, but reaching for light. This wasn't a continuation, it was a rebirth. Cavill's Superman had walked through fire. He had battled gods, faced cynicism, and stood tall in a darker world. But Gunn's Superman, he would be born into a different DC. One with new rules, new foundations, a new heart. The timing, though, was cruel. Fans had barely started celebrating Cavill's return when the rug was pulled. From elation to confusion. From, he's back, to, he's gone. The emotional whiplash was real. For fans who had followed Cavill's journey for nearly a decade, it felt like betrayal, not by Cavill, but by the machine. The machine that had asked him to return, only to say goodbye. The machine that had handed him a cape, only to take it back. Cavill, ever the gentleman, handled it with grace. He didn't rage. He didn't protest. He offered understanding. He said he respected the new leadership. He thanked the fans. He walked away with dignity. But the wound lingered. Not just for him. For all of us who believed in the myth of continuity. For those who thought this time, maybe the hero's journey would find its rightful end. Instead, it ended with a conversation in a room. Quiet. Heavy. Final. Gunn didn't share the moment to shame. He shared it because it mattered. Because leadership requires owning the hard decisions. Because change, especially in myth-making, is never painless. But he also shared it to say, this new story is not about erasing what came before. It's about beginning anew. It's about taking the symbol, the S on the chest, and rediscovering what it means. David Corenswet will don the cape. He will soar into the skies of a reimagined metropolis. He will carry the hopes of a new generation. But he will also carry the weight of what came before. The legacy, the expectation, the scrutiny, the ghost of Cavill. And perhaps that's the greatest irony of all. Because Henry Cavill, in being cast aside, became something even more powerful, a legend. A man who didn't just play Superman, but lived like one when it counted most. He didn't fight the change. He didn't lash out. He stood, took the blow, and flew off with honor. As for James Gunn, he moves forward. Head high, script in hand, vision clear. He knows what this moment means. He knows the hearts he's broken. But he also knows the promise he's making. To give the world a Superman who believes again. Not just in truth and justice, but in the power of stories to begin again. And so we wait. Not for a bird, not for a plane, but for a boy from Kansas to remind us what it means to rise. Even when everything